from where they are now to where they could be, where it's a lot more empowering. I'm curious if you had any recent conversations or what you're doing on your end.
Yeah, and a lot of that has to do with, like you said, a change in perspective, but it's sort of the
Hmm.
ultimate change in perspective, which is from a perspective as a personality to a perspective, as, might call it a higher self or might call it a watcher or as an observer of yourself and it is as an observer of life instead of seeing yourself as a personality because and this we'll tie this back into the election and all that, but um, because you have to realize that what your personality is actually just an accumulation. It's actually just a bunch of stuff that you've gathered from the environment, and then you call it me. So whether
Mm.
you gathered it from your family, whether you gathered from friends and society, from television, from the radio, from wherever, you've gathered all kinds of different ways of speaking. You've gathered a certain accent. You've gathered, you're speaking in a certain language. And the way the language you speak changes the way that you actually think. Um, so you've gathered all these different little catchphrases and all these different beliefs that if you had grown up in a vacuum, you would not have absorbed any of this. And frankly, you would not have a personality. If you grew up and there was nobody around and somehow, physical aspects aside of taking care of a baby and all that, if you were able to just grow up in an isolated way, you would not have a personality because there would be no other person to relate to. So a personality would be useless. And you would not even have the data to construct a personality with. You would not even have words. So I mean, imagine if you had grown up in China or you'd grown up in Libya or some other country, speaking another language, having a different culture, you would be an entirely different person. You'd have the same genetics, but you would be an entirely different person just because you were born somewhere else and you gathered different stuff from that place.